Hi, it's Nell with the blog Joyous Garden, and today is all about Mandarin plant care. So you may have seen the Mandarin plant as Mandarin spider plant or fire flash. That's a variety I've seen it called. The genus is Chlorophytum, just like the spider plant. It is related to that plant very closely. And you're going to see it very soon, but it has neon orange stems. It's just gorgeous. And it's relatively new in the houseplant trade. Hasn't been around too long. I got mine about a year ago, so I've grown it for a year. So now I feel very confident to do a care post about it. And I've been growing spider plants for years and years and years. So onward we go. And as usual, there is a blog post to go along with this video that'll have more details in it, because I try to keep it as short as possible in these. So if you're interested in any category, you can go to the blog. We have an index, a table of contents, and you can just say, okay, I want to know about soil and repotting, and you'll go straight to it. And the link will be at the top of the description box and also on our website, joyousgarden.com. And here is the lovely plant of which I speak. And just like its cousin, the spider plant, it's very easygoing and very durable. It's see those stems? I'll go in close up on it so you can see, but they're just gorgeous, has a great form, and the size of this plant is mine is about 1.5 feet tall by 2 feet wide. I imagine when I put it in a larger pot at some point it will get wider. I don't think it's going to get that much taller, but it's not a huge plant, but it's not like a tiny compact, peperomia or anything like that. So, and in terms of growth rate, I'd say it's slow to moderate. It's probably more moderate here in the desert, but I'm in a very warm, sunny climate. For you, it might be slow growing. And how this plant is used, it is a tabletop plant. And I always try and point out what to love about this plant. And of course, it's those neon jazzy stems. So there are those beautiful stems. A little bit closer up, we're going to start with light. Like many houseplants and this spider plant, it does really well in very bright natural light. Mine gets no direct sun, but lots of light all day long. I imagine if the light is too low, it will lose the intensity, some of the intensity of the color on the stems, just like the spider plant will lose some of its bright color if the light is too low, but it can go in highlight too, just as long as it's not in any direct hot sun. So we're going to go on to watering, and in terms of watering, it's good to know that this plant, just like the snake plant, I always say snake plant instead of spider plant, SP. The spider plant has those really thick roots. This plant has very thick roots too, so I don't water mine too often. Now, that being said, I live in the desert. In the summer, it's very sunny for many, many hours, hot, so I water mine about every 5 to 7 days in the summer. And in the winter, it's about every 7 to 9 days. You will probably have to water yours less often. It just depends on your home's environment, but you can let it go almost dry or dry before giving it a good watering again. And another thing in terms of water and watering is this plant is really susceptible to minerals in tap water, especially fluoride. So if your water has fluoride in it, you will eventually start to see leaf damage. I have a tankless RO system that puts the good minerals back in the water, and that's what I use to water all of my houseplants. Temperature, what I say usually for almost all houseplants, I think I do for all of them actually, is that if your home is comfortable for you, it'll be so for the plant also. Humidity. This is a plant that is native to the rainforest, so it loves high humidity. That being said, it is adaptable. It'll tolerate drier air, like here in the desert. But if you can see these tiny brown tips, that is what the spider plant does. Also, it is a reaction to the dry air. So I'm just going to zoom in on the center of this plant because it's so pretty. Look at that. Just gorgeous. So in terms of fertilizer, it's the same for all my houseplants except for succulents and cacti. I will have details of the fertilizing in the blog post. I won't go into it here. But instead of doing it like 5 or 6 times a year as I do with my other plants, I do this one about 3 times a year. And for you, in a different climate, I have a very long growing season here, 2 times a year might be just fine. So on to soil and repotting. This plant is not fussy as to soil, as long as it's a potting soil that's formulated for houseplants, it'll do just fine. I'll tell you what I do to up the ante on it a little bit is I do 1/3 potting soil, or I will do. It's going to be the same as the spider plant. I haven't repotted it yet. And I think I might in spring, because here you can see those, I don't know if you can see those big roots there if I have it. Oh, I just don't want all the dirt to fall. There's some big roots coming out here. I can't see because I don't have my glasses on. Hopefully you can see the big fat roots there. So what I will use is 1/3 potting soil, 1/3 cocoa fiber, and 1/3 pumice as the potting mix. And that way it'll have some good stuff in it and it'll just freely drain out. So another thing on repotting is, just like spider plants, they like to grow a bit tight in their pots. This is getting tight in the pots, so I think I am going to do it in the spring, so don't rush to repot it. I'm doing it just because there are a few of the roots are starting to come out of the bottom, and it is the winter time now. Almost winter. It is winter, I think, in a couple of weeks. And so in the spring, it'll want to take off and grow. So give it a nice bigger base, and it's in a 6-inch pot. I will only go up to an 8-inch pot, and that might be good for it for a very long time. So pruning, not much is needed at all. There is an occasional lower leaf that needs to be removed. That's just the nature of how plants grow. If you have a lot of dying leaves, it's an issue, but if you have one every few months, it's just how the plant is growing, and that's all the pruning that I've done on this plant. Now, for all you pet owners like me, pet safety, this one, like the spider plant, is non-toxic. My tiger, my newer cat, chews on the spider plants every now and then. He munches, because he loves that, crunchy texture. They're really crunchy, but he hasn't ever chewed on this one. So, like with anything, if it's non-toxic, if they eat a lot of it, it could make them sick and so just watch that. But the good news is it's non-toxic. So in terms of propagation, I've never done it on this plant, and I don't plan on it because I have a lot of plants. But this has like 2 stems in it. It's not just one single stem. There's one there and one there. So I imagine, like a spider plant, I could divide it. Or the other way that I have read that you can propagate it is by the seeds. There is a flower in the center, and that produces seeds. This does not produce the pups like the other spider plant. It'll put out those long stems, flower, and then the pups will appear there. Not with this one. Pests. Now, in the year that I've had mine, it hasn't gotten any pests at all. Actually, the only plants of mine that get any kind of pests are my Hoyas. Actually, the Hoya over there's a Hoya that's coming back on the frame. It has orange aphids now. I just had to spray it yesterday. I'm like, aphids in December? Come on. And my succulents get mealybugs, but that's about it. But this one, if it's like the spider plant, they can be susceptible to scale and also to spider mites. So I have done posts on both of those pests with pictures so you can identify them and find out what to do. But with any kind of a pest infestation, you want to take action as soon as you see it, because they spread from plant to plant. So flowers, as I said, yes, it does flower. And there is a little stem that appears out of the center, and then the flowers grow in clusters off of that, and they are like a creamy yellowish greenish, and I'm not quite sure how tall they get. I've only seen them about that tall, so I don't know if it gets any taller, but yes, it does flower, and I'm not exactly sure how many flowers are on that spike. All that I've seen have been on the lower side. So I hope you have found this video to be helpful. I upload videos about gardening both indoors and outdoors every month, and we do a short. We upload a short every other week, a short form, video, so be sure and check out those too. I thank you so much for watching, and for more info on gardening, indoors and outdoors, check out joyousgarden.com. Thanks again. Bye.